I
wanted to tell a story
About life?
about my life. It was a story that I realized I had never told on the show.
The best way to tell it would be when you have the microphone here to not exorcism your head and turn it back around.
I think they can hear me.
You can?
I think they can hear me fine.
I'll be the judge
I
of
just
that.
can't look at you when I'm telling it. No, I can look at you. I talk so much about smoking a lot of pot and psychedelic drugs and stuff like that, and Rastafarianism and all the stuff that happened. But there was a story that I started telling to a friend of mine the other night, and I was like, I've never told this story, and I think it might be worth kind of explaining. My dad has been a sober man for a very long time, and so growing up, alcohol, as it were, became the big taboo. And so it was something that I was still very leery of, even in the midst of my drug use. And so I had eaten acid, smoked a lot of pot, taken ecstasy, all sorts of stuff before I had ever been drunk. And very early on in my boarding school days, I got drunk one night. And this evening began with me.
You don't mean like for the first time? It's meant like at the beginning stages of
What?
one of the first times you'd been drunk, or?
Well, I had never really. I had been like moderately drunk a couple of times beforehand.
Okay.
Like at some dance, like had a couple of drinks in a limo on a way to like a semi-formal, and was like a little bit like, whoa, like that's a little crazy. And I sort of thought that was maybe the extent of it. And so this evening began with me hooking up with this dude who I barely knew.
You mean as friends?
Huh?
You mean as friends?
As friends. But we did French.
Okay. When you hook up at the end of the night, that's because of that.
No, and we somehow managed to procure 40s of Schlitz. And so we like snuck off into the hills and like drank our 40s, and we're like, yeah, like we're drinking 40s. But then like we drank them and we were like, all right, like we didn't really know each other that well, so we were like sort of like peace, like, and we walked off. And I marched across the campus, which was a huge campus, and went into my other friend's room, and he was sitting there and we were talking. He's like, dude, you want some Jack Daniels? And I was like, yeah. So we just started swigging this Jack Daniels back and forth. Sit there for like 20 minutes just swigging Jack. I'm like, cool, man. Like he's like, yeah, so anyway, I'm gonna go hook up with this girl. And I was like, all right, word, I'm gonna go like hook up with my boys. Like, I'll see you later. And walk out of there, and I start walking back down the trail, and I run into like 4 of my friends, and they're walking up and they're like, hey, what are you doing? And I was like, nothing, what are you doing? Like, I'm kind of drunk. And they're like, we're going down to the wash. We're gonna go smoke a bowl and do Jaeger shots. And so like we go down into the wash, and basically we start passing a bowl around, and then in the opposite direction, we're passing a bottle of Jaeger around. And so, like, you take a hit of pot, like, pass it, and as soon as that happens, like, the Jaeger comes around, and you, like, swig off the Jaeger. Mind you, literally, I had been drunk maybe twice, and that was, like...
This has all happened in, like, an hour and 15-minute span.
That finishes, and I'm like, cool, like, I'll see you later. And, like, as they leave, I start going, like, oh, fuck. Like, this doesn't feel so hot. And... we have lights out at that dorm, you know, and so it's getting close to lights out at like 9 o'clock or something like
county.
that, you know, and upon realizing that I'm pretty drunk, my theory is that I'm going to get back to my room, no probs, just get back to the room, climb into bed, turned in a little early when our RA, you know, our resident fucking dorm guy, teacher dude comes to check in on me. I'm already passed out. I'm already asleep. Like, no bigs, right? Cool. Getting to said building becomes incredibly difficult. I fall down quite a few times. I get to the room, stumble in, and my friend sees me, and he's like, oh God, dude, like, are you cool? And I was like, yeah, I mean, just at this point, like, literally, like that fucked up. And he was my, like, Rasta friend, and he was not down with the fact that I had gotten drunk because it was so not a cool thing to do.
So against Jah.
And so he's like, your breath, like, you smell so bad, like, you got to cover up your breath. And so he tells me that the best way to do that is to eat peanut butter because it eclipses, like, all smells. And so then cut to me literally trying to like spoon peanut butter into my mouth and like getting it in and then it just staying in my mouth forever. And all of a sudden I get up and I was like, I gotta go. And you know, that like, where are you going, dude? Like, you're not going anywhere. And I get to the door to the outside, like there's a door that goes out into like a little courtyard where our dorm is. And then the RA dude lives like right there. And my friend's like trying to stop me and he's like, dude, stop it. Like, don't. And I get up and basically I start to fall face first. Like, I have absolutely no control over my body at this point. And I remember looking at the handle as I fall like face first into the door, and I like hit the handle as I'm falling. And so the door flies open, and basically the dorm guy is standing like at the door. So it flies open and I see him as I'm like, and go into his arms and burst into tears like instantaneously. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, immediately crying.
I'm so queer.
I'm so queer. I'm so sorry.
I'm queer.
I'm so sorry. And he like carries me into the room and puts me into bed. And I'm so fucking sick that the only way I can like feel okay is by wedging myself into the corner of my bed where the two walls meet, because the wall is cool. It's like a plaster wall. And so I have my forehead like up against the plaster wall. And I start to puke. And I can't move. And so the puke is just hitting the wall and splashing back all over my face.
Thank you.
So I'm just puking onto my own face.
Of course you are.
For like 10 minutes. Just like, wah, like, wah, like coming out. But it's just, I hear it hitting the wall and splashing, and every part of me inside is like, you have to move, and I can't fucking move. And so I fall asleep eventually, sleeping in my own puke, wake up.
Did you shit yourself at all?
I did not shit myself.
Shit.
Did not shit myself.
Piss yourself?
Didn't piss myself somehow. But I woke up the next morning and my face had dried.
Oh, yeah.
The puke had dried against my face.
Yeah,
I peeled it up from the mattress, and
Yeah.
it was 5:45, 6 in the morning. And I am starving. And so I get up
Have some peanut butter.
and I walk in. No, I walk in. I had finished the peanut butter earlier that night. It was in my bed at this point. I walk into the kitchen, and like a typical dorm, I open the refrigerator, and there's only one thing sitting in the refrigerator, and it's an unopened bottle of Clamato.
Oh, dude.
And I crack the bottle open, and I smell it, and I'm like, well, I can't drink that. Like, I almost puke. And so I look above, and I open a cupboard, and there's just this giant Econo box of cream of wheat. And so I pour half the contents of the box into a pot.
Perfect.
And I make a giant pot of cream of wheat.
Perfect.
And really?
Yes.
Is it perfect?
It's going to soak up some of that.
Is it? Because what I wind up doing then is sitting in like the main living room, which is a linoleum floor, and I eat so much cream of wheat. And cream of wheat expands in your stomach. And so I eat what easily would have been
3 people.
3 people's servings. And I just remember like dropping, by the time I get done like carbo loading for whatever reason, I drop the pot on the ground, and I look, and I just remember looking at the brown linoleum floor and just opening my mouth and projectile vomiting this cream of wheat. And it's literally, I remember as it's coming out going like, this is like triple the amount that I ate. And it's just a pile of white cream of wheat, like, like streaming out of my mouth, like, wah! And it's just collecting like into
What
a
the
gigantic
fuck, man?
pile of.
Go to sleep on it. Use it as a pillow.
So needless to say, my drinking career was
tragically cut short.
like like I don't think I drank again for another 2 years. Like, I just stayed away because I was like, well, that's why it's dangerous. Like, duh. Like, look what happened.
Look at me.
I'm fine. I just smoke weed and put mushrooms up my butt.
I'm
I'm cool. Just don't do that and you'll be fine.
And look at you now.
Look at me now, Mom.
You made it.
That's all. That's all I got.